Okay, let's dive in. This deep dive feels particularly timely, doesn't it? Hitting right at that intersection of quantitative finance, Python, and, well, AI.
Absolutely. And especially, as we mark the 20th anniversary of the Python quants community, which has been right in that space.
Exactly. So the question of how Gen AI is reshaping the work itself, the careers in quant finance, that's what we need to explore today.
Right. We've gathered a whole stack of recent sources, things from Axios, Bloomberg, the New York Times, some YouTube discussions too, plus reports like Signal Fire State of Talent 2025, Oxford Economics.
A real mix. And our mission really is to unpack all of that, pull out the key nuggets, and help you understand what's actually being reported about Gen AI's impact on the quant finance job market.
Especially for those entry-level spots, the internships, and this emerging idea of the super quant.
Yeah, what does it all mean? Okay, let's unpack this. And, digging in, one thing just leaped out immediately, a really stark warning.
From someone deep inside the AI world, too, Dario Amodei. He's the CEO of Anthropic, one of the big AI players.
And he really didn't mince words, did he?
No, not at all. He gave this, well, frankly, unsettling prediction. It was highlighted in the Axios piece. He basically said AI could potentially wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs.
Half. Within just 1 to 5 years. That time frame is startling.
It really is. And he warned it could push unemployment up dramatically, maybe 10 to 20%. He used the term white-collar bloodbath.
Wow. A white-collar bloodbath across tech, finance, law, consulting, hitting those entry-level positions the hardest.
And according to that Axios source, he feels this duty to be honest about what might be coming. He mentioned that not many people seem to be really grasping it.
He apparently said it sounds crazy and that people just don't believe it, but then challenges them, well, what if they're right?
It really makes you stop and think. And the speed factor seems critical here.
Yeah, the sources emphasize that. Businesses aren't really waiting around. They seem to be racing to replace human tasks with AI, sometimes even before the tech is, fully baked.
It's like a calculated bet, isn't it? Betting on rapid AI improvement or just significant cost savings down the line.
And that speed, plus the breadth across industries, makes this feel different from past tech shifts. It's not gradual, sector by sector. It's broad and fast.
Definitely. And finance being so technical, so data heavy, reports like the one from Oxford Economics specifically point to it as being heavily affected.
Wall Street firms are apparently all in on AI. They see it as, well, a game changer for minimizing those repetitive tasks.
And the sources get really specific about how AI is being used. It's not just high-level stuff. We're talking financial modeling assistance, actually assembling parts of deal documents.
Synthesizing information from regulatory filings, 8Ks, 10Qs, press releases, purchase agreements, tasks that used to take ages.
Plus things like legal research, drafting initial contract language, creating parts of public information books, doing basic M&A analysis.
Even generating draft PowerPoint slides and setting up complex Excel work. It's granular. They list tools firms are already using or trying out, like City Stylus, AI at Morgan Stanley Debrief, internal tools at BOFA, PJT Partners Trials.
And platforms like Rogo, Grass Research, Sana Labs. It's becoming embedded.
There's that quote from Stephen Stengel, who created Rodo, cited in Bloomberg. He put it very bluntly.
Yeah, he said there's no doubt that people with AI will replace people without AI. Calls it an arms race. Basically, adapt or get left behind.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. There's a tension. The Bloomberg piece explored this with junior bankers.
Right, you'd think they'd be thrilled, AI takes over the tedious grunt work, changing fonts, fixing margins, all that stuff they famously grind through.
But apparently not. Instead of relief, there's anxiety.
Yeah, anxiety. Partly job security, sure, but also a deeper worry about the skills they might miss out on by skipping that grind.
That's the core of it, isn't it? They see that painstaking work, reading every document, the detailed analysis, not just as chores, but as essential training.
Exactly. Like that recruiter, Jeanette Jiang, quoted in Bloomberg, she said, reading the documents, analyzing them, there's a process that you need to learn. She thinks skipping it could be detrimental to the young person.
And Bridgewater's CEO, Nir Bardia, echoed that, saying, you do the tough work that then leads you to do the higher level, more conceptual things.
So the fear is, if AI does the foundational stuff, how do they develop the intuition, the pattern recognition needed for senior roles, for complex client work?
It's like that analogy someone used, being a pledge in a fraternity, you have to do the work to get upstairs. It really highlights this clash in perspective.
Yeah, between executives or developers seeing replaceable busy work and the junior staff, plus maybe some senior folks, seeing it as vital apprenticeship.
And this isn't just feelings or anecdotes. The broader economic data seems to be backing up the concern.
Right. The sources point to the unemployment rate for recent college grads, especially in technical fields like finance and computer science. It's jumped to an unusually high 5.8%.
The New York Fed even said the situation for recent grads had deteriorated noticeably.
And that Signal Fire report found new graduate hiring dropped 50% compared to pre-pandemic levels. 50%.
That's a massive hit to the traditional entry points into these careers.
Plus, there was that MIT study finding quite stark. For every new AI job created, maybe 2 or 3 junior jobs elsewhere disappear or just aren't posted. Shows a real asymmetry.
And entry-level roles are crucial, right? For skills, networks, moving up, if that first run weakens.
The whole talent pipeline is at risk. Anish Raman from LinkedIn warned AI is breaking the bottom rungs of the career ladder across many fields, finance included.
This could even have macro effects, student loans, spending. It's potentially huge.
So let's look at a concrete finance example, the Norway Wealth Fund, NBIM, huge fund, $1.8 trillion. Their CEO, Nikolai Tangen, is taking a very assertive stance.
Assertive is putting it mildly. He has basically said using AI isn't optional there. He's quoted as saying, if you don't use it, you will never be promoted and essentially won't get a job there going forward.
He's really pushing it hard internally. And he claims big efficiency gains. 15% last year from AI, targeting 20% this year, another 20% next.
He thinks this puts them way ahead, maybe 50% ahead of slower competitors, calls the results unbelievable, and suggests others will never catch up.
So how are they doing it? They use tools like Claude, Copilot, Perplexity, one example, monitoring news. They scan news in 16 languages about portfolio companies in about 10 minutes. Used to take days.
10 minutes versus days. Wow. And another big one is helping with activist voting, like on executive pay.
Yeah, they feed the AI the company documents, their own guidelines, past votes, and it gives a recommendation, apparently with 95% accuracy, in minutes instead of days of analyst work.
Which leads Tangent to say some pretty blunt things about the traditional analyst role.
He basically said analysts are no longer of much use just for gathering information because AI does it better and faster.
And he said they'll freeze hiring for now, focus on tech efficiency when they do hire again. Only tech-savvy people proficient in AI.
Which, again, clashes directly with that junior banker anxiety about needing the grunt work for training. It's a fundamental disagreement on the value of that early career experience.
And all this points towards this emerging idea of the super quant.
Exactly. The sources suggest traditional domain expertise or coding skills, while still needed, aren't enough anymore. Survival means integrating and leveraging AI effectively.
Tangen's view aligns with this. Use the time AI saves to think more and make better decisions. It's about moving past simple augmentation towards more automation.
Which requires new skills, right? Knowing how to interact with and manage these powerful AI agents. The super quant needs the traditional skills plus this deep AI fluency.
Now, Anode, despite his stark warnings, did offer some thoughts on mitigation.
Yeah, he mentioned things like boosting public awareness, maybe pushing for AI augmentation first to slow down displacement, educating policymakers.
In debating policy options like that controversial token tax idea on AI revenue.
Right, a small tax, maybe 3%, to redistribute some of the wealth generated, acknowledging it wasn't in his company's direct interest, but maybe a necessary tool. He sees himself as a truth teller trying to steer the train.
So, wrapping this all together, what does it mean for you listening, whether you're trying to get into quant finance, just starting, or already established?
Well, the traditional path, the one built on years of mastering that foundational grunt work, seems genuinely under threat. The hiring data suggests that entry point is shrinking.
And success looks like it will increasingly depend not just on your quant skills, your Python, your finance knowledge, but crucially on your ability to understand, use, integrate AI tools.
Becoming that super quant fluent in AI seems less like an advantage and more like, well, a requirement for the future. The message from leaders like Tangen is pretty clear.
Embrace AI, figure out how to leverage it, or risk getting left behind.
So we've seen the warnings about potential job losses, the specific ways AI is changing quant work, and that real tension between efficiency and losing foundational training.
The MBM example shows how fast this is moving, and the pressure from the top to adapt.
And the data confirms the challenges at the entry level, reinforcing this idea that just having the traditional skill set isn't the whole picture anymore. The super quant integrating AI looks key.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
All of this raises a pretty fundamental question for you to think about. If AI takes over the tasks that were the traditional training ground, the grunt work that built deep understanding and intuition, how do aspiring quants get that depth now?
Or is the very nature of the knowledge required changing? Does it demand a completely different kind of learning, a different skill set, right from the start?
Definitely something to mull over as this field continues its rapid transformation.